After Africa's promise to put an end to the war in Eastern Europe and China's offer of peace with Ukraine, the US has now made a proposal to hold the Russo-Ukraine war, and it appears the US is about to gift Putin something spectacular. Hello and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Piyush. Let's begin. In the ongoing saga of the Ukraine war, one country seems to have an underlying interest: the United States. Ukraine has had unwavering Western support for more than a year. Yet the US is finding that its efforts to beat Russia are failing faster than a botched game of beer pong, despite pouring billions of dollars into the Ukrainian battlefield. According to sources, Russia now reportedly holds control over more than 30% of eastern Ukraine, including important cities like Bakhmut. But despite this, the US keeps funding the conflict because, well, evidently guns are more important to them than anything else. However, even the US, with all its financial might, is starting to feel the brunt. Money problems at home have ignited the need for a proper strategy to end the war. But the approach being considered seems eerily similar to the way the Korean War was put on hold. Yes, it's another unofficial piece where the conflict continues to simmer. According to the report by Politico, instead of aiming for a clear win, the Biden administration is considering the idea of freezing the Ukraine conflict indefinitely. Discussions of a protracted, low-intensity standoff are currently taking place at the White House, according to 3 current officials and 1 former official. Something like a Korea-style stoppage has been on the table, said a unanimous source. It makes sense because neither side would have to acknowledge new borders, and the only agreement needed would be to stop shooting along a designated line. For those fond of history, the former official drew a comparison to how the Korean War ended in the 1950s with an armistice. It left the Korean peninsula divided, with a demilitarized zone dividing Pyongyang and Seoul, each of which claimed sovereignty over the entire Korean peninsula. Now a similar Korean-style ceasefire for the Ukrainian conflict is being considered. The proposed strategy would require neither side to acknowledge new borders, with the only agreement necessary being a ceasefire along the designated line. By implementing such approach, the US hopes to bring stability to the region while avoiding an outright victory for either Russia or Ukraine. Now, while this proposed scenario might sadden Ukraine, it is undoubtedly music to Russia's ears. After all, it has always had its sights set on complete control over eastern Ukraine. If the Western proposals gain acceptance, the Dnieper River would become the official border between Russia and Ukraine. The current state of affairs suggests a significant victory for Russia in the Ukraine game. Russia's long-standing desire to reclaim Eastern Europe as its own territory seems to be on the verge of realization thanks to the forthcoming actions of President Biden, who is poised to grant this cherished gift. Putin's resolve to maintain control over eastern Ukraine remains strong, and Russia's strategic maneuvers have positioned it favorably in this protracted conflict. With its clear objective in sight, Russia is poised to exercise its influence and assert its dominance over the region.